Hello everyone, this is PrussianPrince with another Total War Warhammer 2 Battlecast, and this is going to be Dark Elves against Lizardmen. I'm playing as the Dark Elves, and on the other side we have King of the Dead playing as Lizardmen. Joining me though for this cast we have Eric Rastic. Hello Eric Rastic.
Hey guys, hey PrussianPrince.
Hey, so as usual, he's going to be the one providing you guys with the analysis. And again, just like in the last video, you guys can check out his Twitch channel and YouTube. I will leave a link to those in the description. Again, if you haven't checked those out already. So, I'm gonna go over the build that I chose for this game, and this is a Falcon build. This is a build that he gave me. Maybe it's not exactly his build. Maybe I just changed it. I changed it a little bit. I don't remember. Anyway, so let's start with what's easy. So I have Malekith on a dragon here. He also has the Soul Stealer ability besides the standard dragon breath that the dragon gives him. So other than that, I have two Dark Riders with repeater crossbows on my left flank. In the center, we have a bunch of these black guards of Nagaron. These are my strongest units that I have in this roster, besides Malekith, of course. And yeah, they should be able to hopefully punch through the middle of the Lizardmen. Other than that, I have Dread Spears on left and on the right flank, and two more all the way in the back. In terms of actual melee cavalry force, I do have a Cold One Knights unit on each of the flanks, and I'm not sure if I missed anything. No, I don't think I missed anything. It's not really a big army or anything, but it does have some quality to it. Now, what can you tell us about the Lizardmen, Eric Restic?
Alright, so over here we're looking at a front line of 3 Saurus warriors with shields. Pretty sturdy infantry unit, high leadership, high HP most importantly. With changes to Primal Instincts / Rampage in or 2 patches ago I believe it was, with the Prophet of the Warlock, instead of simply rampaging at half health, they actually instead rampage at 20% health, and upon doing so, will gain stat buffs, which do not disappear if you opt to use Cold-Blooded to cleanse the rampage on them. Aside from that, missile units are comprised of 4 skin cohort with javelins. We've got Epistolodon with the solar engine, really nice, very important tool for Lizardmen counterplaying Dark Riders with repeater crossbows, and probably will also be a big player in helping take down some of this Black Guard of Nagaron, which is otherwise far too tanky for this Lizard infantry to cut their way through. In the back line, as somewhat more of a support unit to be wheeled in as needed, we've got 2 units of Sacred Kroxigors, the new Kroxigor units, sporting higher weapon strength, higher melee attack, and magic attacks when compared with their normal Kroxigor brethren. They do drop the anti-infantry bonus, however they make up for that with, I believe, a slightly faster attack speed, and well, just looking cooler in general.
That's a nice bonus.
And then, aside from that, we've got 2 units of Cold One Spear Riders. So this is essentially a... Oh, I almost forgot. And the caster in the air is none other than a Skink Priest of Heavens with Curse of the Midnight Wind and Wind Blast, 2 very potent spells against Dark Elves. Curse of the Midnight Wind being vital for reducing the armor on Blackguard and helping Saurus deal a little bit more damage. And then Wind Blast, because as it has been coined by the community and some players, with the moniker of Wind Blast, kind of tends to just delete units that it touches. So, yeah, so basically we're looking at what is a Lizardman quote-unquote castle build from King of the Dead here. He's got Gorrock in the center, providing that leadership bastion and also being quite hard to kill. And then aside from that, it's just a decent amount of warding off / harass from skin cohort javelins, and then kind of similar to PrussianPrince's thinking with the Blackguard of Nagaron, punching through the center of the Lizardman formation. I believe that King is intending to punch through the center of the Dark Elf formation using Saurus Warriors and the Sacred Crocs. Back to you, Prince.
All right, so let's do what I was thinking of doing this game actually with. So the reason why I deployed as I did, I'm gonna start with the skirmish gap. So I have them all on the left flank because basically my thinking is that, well, units all have their shield on the left side, right? So if I shoot at the unshielded side, that should do more damage. That was the case in previous Total Wars. I don't know if they kept it here. I assume they did. Correct me if I'm wrong, though.
Yes, that remains unchanged.
All right. So that is good to know. So that is why I deployed the missile cav over there. Yeah, we'll see what I do with them later. As for the rest of my units, well, basically, I just want to, like, this is a rush army, because mostly a rush army. I do have 3 skirmish cav, but I do intend to just engage as fast as possible. And at this point, seeing that the enemy does have a Bastillodon, I decide, okay, you know, I should definitely get up close and personal with him as fast as possible, because I don't want that thing to, I don't want to give that thing time to shoot at me. So I'm just gonna have to like rush up quickly and get to it. Other than that, yeah, I'm thinking of using the Cold One Knights mostly defensively in case it's necessary, but we'll see as how the battle actually progresses. I'm gonna hit play very soon, so I'll do a countdown. 3, 2, 1, hit play. So there we go, battle has started. I'm moving up now my army right from the get-go. Basically, I use what I think most people use. So I just I select the, oh, by the way, I dodged with Malekith the first Bastillodon shot there. Thankfully, I did not get hit. But besides that, I use what most people use, I guess. Just select my army, and with Alt I move them up. Oh, and here I take a massive hit, by the way, from the Bastillodon on my Dark Riders. That was actually pretty bad. I did not expect the Bastillodon to actually be shooting that quickly or turn that well. Anyway, back to you.
Yeah, that was a pretty devastating shot for sure. Over here we see King of the Dead moving some skink cohort with javelins up front, take some poking fire at the Black Guard of Nagaron instead of holding them all back in reserve. He's definitely trying to put some damage in on these very key anchor units for the Dark Elves here. Of course, due to their lack of armor piercing, it doesn't do a significant amount of damage, but any damage is better than none. And so we'll be seeing the Saurus and Black Guard collide in the front, a little bit of preliminary skirmishing having happened, and if I had to assume, I think that a Curse of the Midnight Wind on these top 2 units of Black Guard could probably help the Saurus win these engagements, if not grind them out. Instead, we see a Wind Blast coming down, dealing about a quarter HP damage to the Black Guard, and with Dread Spears coming in to occupy some of these skin cohorts with javelins, the Cold One Knights are also going to make their way into some of the other ones to prevent them from firing, and just in general to force them to reposition. Soul Stealer comes down on the Bastillodon, and fortunately for King, he runs some Cold One Spear Riders into the range of it. However, I don't think it affects them. So very fortunate for him there that he didn't lose any models off of that cavalry unit. However, Malekith commits this top flank now, and I believe we'll be seeing this side come pretty decisively into the Dark Elves' favor. Unit of Saurus Warriors up top is starting to waver, and with Dread Spears coming around the side, I believe that deals just enough morale shock for them to rout. Really nice breath attack coming down the center, now killing this middle unit of Saurus Warriors. And the Black Guard are holding quite strong. However, this one unit of Black Guard at the bottom is actually losing fairly soundly to the Saurus Warriors with shields. Perhaps they're fighting uphill. Which is kind of ironic. You'd think that if you're fighting with some sort of a long, pointy weapon, that being downhill might actually be a bit of an advantage, but I digress. So the Black Guard and Malekith have made their way into the back line. Malekith being an absolute beast, tanking out against these Cold One Spear Riders and Sacred Croxigors, and the Prussian Prince makes a really nice move screening these large units into his Black Guard of Nagaron, which normally wouldn't be able to catch these units, but you know, the name of the game is forcing mistakes as well. So really nice play there, getting some damage on these large units. They're very critical to King's win condition right now. And it seems like the only method of him removing most of these blackguard from the field is going to be rear charging. And I suppose some really good wind blasts to get them off. So from here, the blackguard are holding pretty firm, creating a little bit of like an L or triangle formation, just kind of warding off some of these Sacred Crocsgores and Cold One Spear Riders from getting into their flanks. Really nice move there. I'm seeing a really, not sure if this is a huge Soul Stealer. Okay, that's Curse of the Midnight Wind coming down, debuffing all of this blackguard. Definitely useful for King, and then a really nice Soul Stealer coming in on Gorrock, also catching some of these units of Sacred Crocsgores. Oh, actually, did they change that? Okay, so I suppose Soul Stealer now only targets units that are in its radius at the time of casting, but which is quite a significant change, actually. So the Bastiladon with the Solar Engine has managed to reposition itself and is now in the perfect position to start putting some damage in on the Blackguard. So King's definitely not out of the game yet. We've got a shot coming in the Malekith, and PrussianPrince makes a really nice dodge, getting himself out of the way, avoiding some of that magical damage, which would cut right through Malekith's bit of physical resistance. Really nice breath attack coming in on these Cold One Spear Riders, and more shots coming in on the Blackguard. Sacred Crocsgores are probably capable of beating into Malekith, but they need some support in doing so. And having the Blackguard so close by, really paying dividends for PrussianPrince here, since Malekith is never far away from support. And Sacred Crocsgores are pretty much the exact kind of units that Blackguard want to be fighting. However, some devastating shots from the Solar Engine could put their stats down quite low. Right here we see them being depleted down to one of them at 1021, and the one with 2 chevrons is at 1325, so very low base stats, especially for an elite halberd. But right here, it's just throwing everything that he can against the Lizardmen right here. Malekith and some of these Blackguard are trying to work down Gorrock, but he is standing firm. The Rakavitsa ability definitely showing its strength here. 44% physical resistance on top of his base, I believe 10% or so, makes him exceptionally tanky. Really extends his health bar.
Oh, watch what happens now.
Oh! Big breath attack coming in. Oh no! Oh no, those poor Blackguard. Destroyed by the soporific breath of that Black Dragon. Oh, Malekith. I guess he wasn't very pleased with the recent performance. So, you know, in traditional Dark Elf fashion, he decided to dole out some punishment. Yeah, so with that, things are looking actually quite dicey for the Dark Elves. Malekith is, of course, a pretty persistent threat, but with all the Blackguard being broken off at this point, I mean, it's definitely going to be a bit of a challenge for Malekith to solo this army, and while he could, in isolated scenarios, probably kill each of these units individually, he just does not have an army around him. So he's instead the one getting double, triple teams now by Gorrock. Mesa Bulima coming down, giving him 97 melee attack and 630 weapon strength in total. So from here, I think it's only a matter of time before the Dark Elves bite the dust. Ooh, that breath attack was pretty rough.
I suicided myself.
Yeah, that was... Yeah. Oh, that was pretty painful.
Yeah. that was
Things were going quite well.
Yeah, like, that was an excellent breath attack that killed all my Blackguards.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was quite a lot of damage, just perhaps not on the target that you intended for it to be.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Mistakes on my end. What I noticed while watching this replay is, so I actually forgot some of the missile cap for a long time after the main engagement started. Because they routed, I think, and then they came back, and then like I never used them again. So that was one mistake. Then I think at the start I missed a couple of gap charges. They were like on move orders instead of attack orders on my left flank with the cold ones against. I'm not entirely sure what they were charging. Either the skin cohorts with javelins or something else maybe. But well, they didn't get the charge off because they had a movement ordered, so I had to pull them back. That was one mistake, and obviously, I guess like the killer mistake was the Sepharic Breath of Malekith. Well, not of Malekith, of the dragon, which basically probably lost me the game. I'm not sure if I would have won the game if I didn't do that, but you know, that definitely lost me the game there, for
Well,
sure.
I think you would have been in a much better position.
Yeah.
As I said, Malekith is technically capable of beating everything that was left for the Lizardmen in isolated 1v1 engagements if you could get them. But the problem being that without any support, being the Black Guard, it's kind of difficult for him to find those engagements. I mean, that was a pretty critical, definitely a game-losing mistake for sure. I think that everything was looking quite well for you all the way up until that point. Perhaps blobbing around Gorrock was a bit of a mistake as well. Since it wasn't, I suppose it wasn't the most optimal use of your Black Guard, but even so, that's not something that would have lost you the game at that point, aside from blobbing them up and then secretly blowing them all up as well.
Yeah. Well, what's why should I blob around Gorok? By the way, does he have some special ability that like?
No, but since there were three pretty decently, um, pretty healthy units of Black Guard around him, and the thing is that you know, obviously surrounding units is better than just fighting them from one side. However, you can only attack Gorrock with so many infantry models, and I think at that point you probably had enough to make maybe like 1.5 full units of Black Guard, and there's no way that all what is it, like all 100 and something of them would have been making contact with him. So I think that if you were able to use them as kind of a screen, so if you positioned 1 or perhaps 2 units of Black Guard facing outwards, and then had one of them fighting Gorrock, then you would also cut him off from support and kind of guarantee his death right there.
Yeah, while also fighting him with Malekith. Well,
yeah.
Right. So. Yeah, that's that sounds really good actually. Any other mistakes you can point out, or was that?
I think a couple of the maneuvers with the Dread Spears were a little bit less than optimal. I do think that flooding through the center was a great idea. However, I did notice that at one point, kind of when you were chasing down some of the skink cohorts or rear charging them with some of your Black Guard, you also left their flank exposed. And it was kind of also King of the Dead's mistake for not taking the rear charge with the Sacred Crocswords. At the time, he was a little bit busy repositioning them to other parts of the battlefield, and I think chasing down Malekith. However, kind of a mistake on both ends was leaving the Black Guard with their flanks exposed, and then also King of the Dead for, I suppose, not noticing that. However, he did still manage to reposition his solar engine, so that was definitely a good move on his part. As you can see, 106 kills, and that was mostly on Black Guard and Dark Rider repeater crossbows, which was the majority of your killing power here. So.
And actually quite a bit of damage on Malekith as well. Like that was the one unit that I was afraid of this whole game, actually.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely pretty potent against Dark Elves.
So like, how do you shut that one down actually? Like, what's the idea? Because he keeps it further away from the battle, and like it's not that easy to get to it, I guess. Or like, if you want to get to it, like you have to give up time with the other units from the main battle.
So given how pretty much your entire army was anti-large, I think I would have. So the Dark Riders with the repeater crossbows weren't necessarily weren't necessary to killing something like Horned Ones or Stegodons or any other sort of like, you know, large Carnosaur or anti-large anti-infantry type monsters. It was mostly just the Bastillodon and the Sacred Croxagors, which you could fight with Malekith and Black Guard. It kind of is the case for all the units in this army, actually. So I think what I would have done is attempted to break down the front line a little bit quicker. Malekith working down the skink javelins was pretty good, but he didn't really manage to get the quick routes that would have helped you really flood into the back line quicker. There were a couple of instances, like while fighting the Saurus, for example, where I think a rear charge from Malekith could have ended the combat a couple seconds quicker. And in the grand scheme of things, I think that could have made a pretty big difference, since the Bastillodon with the solar engine can't fire on the move, and Sacred Croc scores, while being pretty strong, can't, of course, match up to Blackguard, even if they are at half health. So just forcing it into a situation where it has to constantly run away, and then bringing Malekith in, I think would have been pretty important. So you delete most of the infantry up front, you force him to play a little bit more defensively around his solar engine, and then whenever you have your troops ready, like for example, you're running down the skink cohorts with their dread spears, and then you're pushing the Blackguard forward, kind of to where his solar engine is. You dive the solar engine with Malekith, he blobs up on you, drop a really huge Soul Stealer, dealing quite a bit of damage, and then follow up quickly with Cold One Knights and Blackguard to help relieve some of the pressure on Malekith. And then, if you have any Dark Rider repeater crossbows left at that point, they can, of course, fire in on the blob. So that would be my main critique in your handling of the solar engine. Also, how I would probably have suggested dealing with it. Just force it into a situation where it has to constantly reposition.
All right. Well, sounds good. And yeah, I love how I had like a couple of good breaths in this game, the dragon, and then like, well, those put me in a good position this game, and then like I had like the one that lost me the game. So, that was quite hilarious, I guess. And King of the Dead's reaction was also pretty good when I used breath on my own units.
Mm-hmm.
It's, yeah, very fun. But anyway, that's gonna be it for us with this cast. So hope you all found it helpful and enjoyable. So thanks all for watching. Again, do check out Aircrastic's Twitch and YouTube if you haven't already. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. And I'll see you all next time.